let's discuss external CSS. Okay, so previously you guys have done inline CSS, which is where you write the CSS directly into the opening tag of your HTML elements. Then last week we went through and we went ahead and we made internal CSS, where we take it back out of the opening tags, the elements themselves, and we put it in the head of the document, right? And so all the CSS is just at the top. And that's really good. That's generally one way of working if you're doing a single page. The other way of applying CSS is an external CSS sheet. So what that means is you take it out of the HTML document altogether, and you have a separate document that you put your CSS into instead. If you recall, when we made our root folder, we have a root folder that's the website name. Then we have our HTML that says index.html. And then we made 3 folders: images, JS, and CSS. That's where you're going to put your CSS files inside of that folder. And you can have multiple CSS files all linked to your web page. So if you have different frameworks and things you want to load in, so someone might make like CSS that has classes built into it, and then you can put those classes into yours. We're going to do that later on. You'll see what that means. It'll make more sense in the future. So the reasons to use CSS. It's best for multi-page websites. So if, for example, you're looking at my website has hundreds of pages, okay? If I had CSS on every single one of those pages, every time you download the page, you have to download all the HTML and the content, as well as the CSS would be in the page as well. As opposed to if it's an external CSS sheet, when you go to this page, right, you'll download the CSS page that is that's attached to this, okay? But then when you go to another page, you don't have to re-download that CSS page because you already downloaded it when you looked at the previous one. So it actually makes it considerably faster when you're going to multiple pages. That's one of the reasons why it's a benefit. Also, if we need to make some sort of adjustment, like you can see, this is orange, right, this bar. Well, let's say I want to change my color scheme and I want that to be blue. I'd have to go to every single page and change the CSS in those. But if they're all just linking to one CSS sheet, I can change it in that. And then all the ones that are using that class that I made inside of that CSS, they will all inherit that same styling, okay? Most of the time, what you're going to see is that this is pretty much the standard practice, okay? Doing the internal embedded inside the HTML makes sense if you're doing a single page site. And a lot of times when I'm making something, I will do it internal. But if it's anything that's multi-page, you're going to be better off making it external. So a lot of times I'll start off writing internal, and then I'll just convert it over to external afterwards, just because that way I don't have to have 2 documents open. So just be aware that most of the time and if you ever download web pages to look at anyone, like 99% of them are going to be external CSS. So the way you write it is basically here. So you make a link, right? So it's just how you link it, href, horizontal reference, just like when we do hyperlinks. You navigate to where the file is located. So typically we just name it styles.css. We say what the type is, because a link could be any number of things. You'll see you can do JavaScript and stuff too. And then the relationship, it's a style sheet. All right. So we will now convert our CSS from internal to external.